This video is about how to get an exponential equation given a context. Now, a context is a word problem, and as you can see from this, there's not a word problem here, there is just a couple points. So I'm assuming that you can read a word problem and pull out a couple points. So that's definitely the first step. If you can't do that, that's kind of a different skill, so I've left this out of this. But the idea is I'm starting from the point where you've identified the important pieces of information from the word problem, and then you need to write the equation at that point. So the first question is, okay, what's an exponential equation? An exponential equation is one that has x as the exponent. The general equation looks like this. Y equals a times b to the power of x plus k. Now for all of these, we're assuming that the k value is 0, that the asymptote is at y equals 0, that it hasn't been moved up or down at all. Most of them are like that. There are some examples, some counterexamples, but for the most part, the k is 0. So we're going to forget about that. I'm going to erase it right now. So now we want to take those 2 points and figure out what exponential equation goes through them. So basically I'm looking for the a value and the b value. The 2 comma 356. The 2 is an x and the 356 is an output, is a y that I've gotten from the word problem that of course I don't have down. So what I want to do is I want to plug in. I replace the x with 2 and the y with 356. Now that equation has 2 letters in it, so that is not quite enough information. I need to do that again. So I take the other point and do that. Now I have 2 equations with 2 letters in it, and it is possible to solve this. I want to put them together in such a way that I get rid of a letter. I'm going to use, you could use substitution, but I'm going to use the elimination technique. Basically that I put them on top of each other and get something to eliminate. The way to get something to eliminate is to divide. If I divide, then the a's will disappear. Let me show you what I mean. Now, it doesn't matter what order you put these things in, but you have to stay consistent. You'll see that I have the 942 on the top. That means I have to have the a times b to the 5th on the top, since they're from the same equation. The reason why I put them in that order is with the higher exponent of b on top, then I think it makes it a little bit easier. So now when I'm dividing, the left side is just some number. If you're uncomfortable with that fraction, you can turn it into a decimal. But I'm just going to leave it as a fraction because I think that's less work. The right side is what I need to simplify. The a's cancel out, and I have 5 b's on the top. B to the 5th is b times b times b times b times b, and I have 2 on the bottom. That means 2 of them cancel out. I could write it out the long way, but I already know that there will be 3 b's left, b to the 3rd power. So that's what I get. The b cubed is equal to that fraction. Now I want to get the b by itself, so I need to get rid of the cubed, which is with a cube root. So the cube root, there is a button you can find under the math menu, but as you probably know, I'd rather use exponents. So the right side is just b now. That was the whole point of taking the cube root. To type in that cube root of that fraction, this is what I'm going to put in. I do to the power of 1/3. A 1/3 exponent is the same thing as a cube root. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. 942 divided by 356, and then I take that to the power of 1/3. Make sure you put parentheses around the 1/3 when you do it as an exponent. Otherwise, it won't include that. So I'm rounding off here, but I get b is about 1.3831, and I'll do 4 decimal places. It doesn't really matter. Now I'm almost done, but I still need to find the a value. What I need to do is I need to go back and plug in that b value into one of the equations for b. I'm going to pick the top one. So I'm going to erase the b and put 1.3831 instead of that. Now that's an Algebra 1 equation. All I need to do is take 1.3831 and square it, and then I get 1.91 blah, 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 blah. So really what I have is 356 equals a times that 1.91. So I just have to divide both sides by 1.91. The 1.91 I'm talking about is what I got from that part that I underlined in red just there. That's where I got the 1.91, so I just need to divide by that number. So 356 divided by 1.91. I'll just type out the whole thing. I don't have to round anymore. And I got 186.10 if I rounded 2 decimal places. Now that's all the information I need. I just need to write my answer. I get y equals 86.10 is the a value times the b value, 1.3831 to the power of x. Basically, now that I figured out the a and the b, that's my answer. All right, let's look at another example that's a little bit tougher. The reason why this one is less simple is because it has a negative in the point, in the second point there. But I want to do it the same way. I want to plug in. I get 35 equals a times b to the power of 3, and I get 473 equals a times b to the negative 1. Again, I like to put the exponent, when I'm dividing here, I want to put the exponent that has a higher number on top, so that'd be the 3. So when I divide 35 divided by 473, and then a times b cubed, and then a times b to the negative 1. Again, I was careful to stay consistent. Since the 35 one on top, the a times b cubed has to go on top as well. So I'm going to leave that left side as a fraction. Simplifying the right side, a divided by a is just 1, so I can forget about it. B cubed divided by b to the negative 1. This is why this one is tougher. Negative exponents mean you have to flip it over. So that b to the negative 1 on the bottom is the same thing as a b to the 1 on the top. Oops, that kind of carried over there. So I flipped that b to the negative 1 to the top to make it b to the 1. Now that top is now b to the 4th power. So I get b to the 4th equals that fraction. Again, if you're uncomfortable with that fraction, you can turn it into a decimal, but that's more work than I want to do, so I'm just going to leave it as a fraction. Now I need to get rid of the 4th power to find out what b is, which is with the 4th root. And again, I am going to type it in as 35 divided by 473 to the power of 1/4. I think that way is easier. Again, you can find the 4th root button in there, but I think that's too much work. So 35 divided by 473, I get about 0.07 something, and then I want to take that to the 1/4 power. And it kind of depends on where you round, but what I got for b, because I didn't round until the very end, I got 0.5216 if I'm rounding to 4 decimal places. Which means that this exponential cuts in half every time. It loses about 48% of its value. How did I get 48%? Well, that multiplies by 0.52, which is 52%. And the difference between that and 100 is 48. All right, so now I need to plug back in to find the a value. So I'm going to pick the equation with a 35 in it because I'd rather not deal with that negative exponent. So I have times b. Ooh, I don't want b anymore because I know what b is. 0.5216, and then that's to the 3rd power. So again, it's a times some number, whatever 0.5216 to the 3rd power is. I get about 0.14. So I'm not going to write the rest, but I have the rest of my calculator here. So I want to divide both sides by that 0.14 number. And that'll tell me what the a value is. Whoops. All right, so when I take 35 and divide it by that answer, I get about 246.70. Keeps moving down there. So that tells me what my answer is. I just need to write it down. Y equals 246.70 times the b value, which is up there, 0.5216 to the power of x. So that's my answer. I can certainly graph that on my calculator, double check that I got it right. but this is the second time I did it and I got the same answer, so I'm okay with myself there. But when you're doing it, graph it, make sure it goes through those 2 points. All right, here are a couple examples. Go ahead and pause the video and try these on your own. All right, I'm back. We're going to go ahead and see how you did. I worked these out ahead of time, and again, it kind of depends on where you rounded, so as long as you got something close, you know you're doing it right. It just depends on what stage you round. But those are my 2 answers listed on the screen there. Sorry, the second one's a little bit close to the side. That's 1.1716 to the power of x, but those are the 2 answers. If you got something different, go back and check your work, compare it to what we did in the first 2 problems. If you can't figure out what you did wrong, just come in with your work and I'll try to find it during class. So how are you feeling about this? Can you do this now? If you can, great. If not, watch the video again or find some extra problems in the book or find a friend to help you out or come in after school for some more help. Whatever will inform you the best to get this under your belt. Thank you for watching. Worked great.
Maybe it's the bigger files it has a problem with.
Yeah, I did one fine yesterday. Oh, it's still going. One fine yesterday.